Joining us today is former England, Liverpool, Leicester City striker Emile Heskey.
Good afternoon, guys. Hope you're well.
Yeah, we're
good,
not
thanks.
too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Probably a daft question, but were you always a striker from sort of youth football all the way through?
From youth football on, yeah, but when you go back younger, I think I started in defence. But
Right.
you know, when you go and play Sunday League or you go and play local football, it's like, the big guy, you can play at the back.
Yeah.
But I used to take the ball and just run with it. So they said, oh no, you can't play him at the back no more.
There was so much more to your game, so to get 100 goals is a pretty brilliant achievement, I think.
Yeah, look, I think it's only now you kind of look back and you kind of think, okay, then what I actually achieved, and it's great to see that, and even my kids see that, you know, and my family see that they're on the journey as well. So it's always nice.
Do you remember the first Premier League goal, Emile?
I think it's Southampton, I think, but I actually can't remember it, to be honest.
Really, that's been an interesting thing chatting to everybody this week. Some do, some don't. Crouchy did, and Darren Bent did. Dwight wasn't sure; he couldn't remember. He couldn't remember either. I suppose, you know, it's whether you kind of collect these sorts of things or not. But what about the 100th? Can you remember that one?
I do. If I'm right, it was against Portsmouth, and I do remember it because it was against David James.
Right.
And we always joke about that. There was a little joke. We were doing an interview, and he said, "Oh, you've never scored against me." And I said, "I think you'll find that I scored my 100th Premier League goal against you." He went, "Oh, okay, but you never scored again." I said, "Well, I think you'll find that I scored my 101st as well."
Was that playing for Wigan? I'm trying to work it out.
Wigan, yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you score? I was looking where you scored your most goals. I mean, there wasn't a lot between the league goals and Leicester and Liverpool, really, was there, in terms of the goals you scored?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much similar. Spent pretty much the same time at both. And they were the most productive times where I had when playing football. Obviously, winning trophies is the main thing about what you come in to do, forming bonds and winning trophies. And I did it at both.
What about building partnerships, Emile, as striker? I mean, in the good old days when people played two up. I mean, we remember with, you know, you and Michael Owen had a great understanding, but kind of forming those partnerships. What about your time at Leicester?
TC, Tony Cotty. I had Steve Claridge as well. Them partnerships, again, it's about understanding. I think you've mentioned that there, and it's about you both having the understanding of what each other brings and what each other wants. And we worked out quite well, me and Tony. I think TC said I extended his playing career somewhat and won him a trophy. So, you know, I think he helped me a hell of a lot as well, because, again, some of the stuff that I particularly wasn't great at, he was fantastic at, and helped me along the way in being who I am.
That's like you and Steve Claridge are kind of the traditional big man partnership. That would work well.
And these days you're involved with women's football, which is growing, and at Leicester as well.
Yeah, look, I think the women's football's coming on leaps and bounds, and it's looking fantastic, and them going on. Leicester are doing really, really great in the sense of from where they've come from, coming up from the Championship into the WSL, struggling for the first couple of seasons now, really trying to establish themselves as mid-table, and then taking it from beyond there. They've had a really good season so far. They've recruited very, very well, and I think that's the key thing. The recruiting is fantastic, and it shows with what they're producing on the pitch.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about England, and one of the big talking points this week has been about the striking options and the players that Gareth will go with. And we've asked all of our 100 club strikers this week, if it comes to a straight shootout between Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins to go on the plane, who are you choosing, Emile?
I would have said Ollie Watkins first and foremost, only because I think he gives you something different. That gives you a lot going in behind, and strikers nowadays really only want the ball to feet. They only want to play in front of them, whereas Ollie's kind of a throwback. He makes runs in behind. He uses his pace a lot. and that scares defenders. Then that scares defenders into dropping off, and then that creates a lot more space for the midfield as well. But I think Ivan Toney done fantastic the other night, with his hold-up play, with his taking of his penalty as well, and we all know that can be an important part of success, penalty taking.
It was an interesting comment that Jude Bellingham made, saying he was so pleased that he'd equalised late in that game for 2-2 because he said, I can imagine all the rubbish we would have got if we'd lost 2 games in a row at Wembley. And you were part of an England team, like all England teams going to tournaments under a lot of scrutiny. Did that sort of bother the players? Did you kind of think about, if we lose this, I can only imagine the headlines? Did it kind of get into your heads a bit?
Not for me, it didn't, but I'm sure it would have got into a lot of people's heads when you're looking at the scrutiny that was put upon us. I was fine in the sense of just going out there and playing and trying to enjoy the sport that I love, and playing with a smile on my face. But again, I do believe that players will be thinking it could be detrimental, to be honest, because people don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to take the initiative at times, and they don't want to try things because they're always thinking in the back of their heads, if I get this wrong, I'm going to get battered. If I get this wrong, I'm going to get criticised. And that's not the way forward. The way forward is actually going and expressing yourself and being the best you possibly can, and playing with an open mind. And half of the time, the players are not doing that, and that's probably what Jude is thinking about there as well. But again, he's probably on a different planet in the sense of he's not thinking about that himself. He's just going out there and performing.
Yeah.
And if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't.
We have got some great forward players, haven't we? Not just the strikers, but as you said, the kind of players that can score and create. We're in good shape up top at the moment, maybe less so at the back.
Yeah, look, I think going forward, and that's the main thing that we have is really the forwards, the midfielders and the forwards, the wide players. Foden I would call the forward as well. And then you look at the players that are not in there. I know Raheem's not having the best of time at this moment in time, but we can't forget what he's actually done over the years. He's probably not in the right vein of form right now, but Jared Bowen's come on leaps and bounds, and he's one that's put himself up there as well. So it's looking very exciting.
With one or two players sort of staking a claim like Kobbie Mainoo to get into the squad, there's only so many people that can go, although we're hearing today Gareth and the other coaches would like 26-man squads because of injuries. But if it is 23, there's a few reports today suggesting the under pressure players that have been constants are Jack Grealish, who's not played a lot of football yet, he's just sort of coming back, and Marcus Rashford, who's not been quite as at it. How do you feel about those two? Would you expect them both to go?
The thing is, you've got to. It's an important run towards the end of the season for them both to actually stake a claim. The one thing you want is players being in form. One thing we have seen with Gareth, he does take what he knows and he feels that are consistent for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they both went, but you really need players that are on form as well.
Yeah.
Jack's got time now to get his fitness up and to play games, and so has Marcus. Like I said, we've seen what they can actually produce, and we've seen the form that they can get themselves in. But you do, when you're going into these tournaments, you want the players that are in form. You don't want the players that are not.
And finally, favourite goal out of all those 100 or so you scored in the Premier League? Have you got one?
Oh, I probably haven't got one, to be honest with you. I'd probably say the one against Jamo, just to wind him up. and then any against Everton.
Right, okay. Nice one. Well, look, good to talk to you, Emile. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons, 1 till 4. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.